and welcome to the O'Connor Event Team's three-part series on basic horsemanship and its applications.
We'd really like to thank State Line Tech for their main title sponsor, and we'd also like to thank Strongid Ed Lengid for helping us put this series together.
You know, Karen and I are really excited about bringing you this three-part series, and we are sure that you're going to enjoy watching and learning some of the techniques that we've developed over the years that have brought us great successes and a tremendous amount of enjoyment in our horse world. In this series of videos, Karen and I are going to share with you our philosophy of training horses. Now, this has been developed over a number of years, and a lot of people have had a great influence on it.
Now, in our first program, David's going to demonstrate for us his abilities on the rope to show us both technique and exercises with his horse. David will then demonstrate for us those very same exercises and techniques, but this time he'll be using two separate horses working free in a round pen. The first horse, he'll be a 4-year-old, while the second horse will be the more experienced horse.
You know, all of this work with a rope or this work in a round pen is really old. You know, horses and humans have been together for 6,000 years, and so none of this is new ideas. But we feel like there's a direct application between the language that you can establish in a round pen or on a rope using those exercises to no matter what you do. Whether you're eventers like us, or whether you're a jumper, or you're a reiner, or you cut cattle, doesn't make any difference. These exercises, we feel, will directly benefit your communication with horses.
Well, let's get out there.
The start to any work with horses is communication. And it's our philosophy, Karen and I, that we have to understand the horse's language, not have the horse understand human language. And so that language is developed over time, and we start with it on the ground. Before we ever get on, we start this idea of trying to figure out how we can talk to each other. Now, this is Tigger. Tigger is going to help us kind of show this. And what we really want to show is that this communication starts with putting pressure on and taking pressure off in some form or another. And so, let's say, for example, I put my finger right down on his noseband right here, and he puts his head down, and I'm going to give. Puts his head down and eats grass. That's still fine. But he gives, and as soon as he gives me the answer that I want, yeah, I'm going to release the pressure. The same thing, maybe I could put my hand right here, push him back. As soon as he backs up, I'm going to release the pressure. That is the basis of all types of communication. Examples. You put your leg on. What do you expect your horse to do? You want him to go forward. As soon as he goes forward, what do? You take your leg off. Same thing with a bit. Why does a horse put his head down in the first place? For what we want. You put pressure on a bit, horse goes to release the pressure, you give. So everything that we do in one form or another ends up in some idea of putting pressure on and then releasing that pressure. The thing that you have to understand more than anything else is your biggest tool actually becomes the release of the pressure, so that you get the horse to say, oh, that's what you want me to do. That becomes a big deal for a lot of people. That release of pressure is where the communication goes wrong, to me, between a lot of horses and a lot of riders. So in this idea of starting to put pressure on, we start some exercises and start playing around with some exercises. These exercises, a lot like we do with everything that we're going to we're going to do with horses, it revolves around moving their feet and starting to push them around, start to change their body, and in that way start to influence their mind. One of the exercises that we do right off the bat, Tigger's pretty experienced. He's already been around an international 3-star. We've had him for a long time, so he really knows that. So he's going to show some of these exercises, but we do the same exercises that we do with young horses, and this is how we start off. One of the first exercises that I want to do is get the horses comfortable with me and comfortable with a rope. That becomes a huge deal, so that they're not threatened at all by anything that I do. This rope, it's only 12 feet long, it's like a marine rope. It's got a really good feel to it. So it's a little bit more than a lead line. What I want him to do, I think that this is an extension of me. So I want him comfortable with me, and I want him comfortable with the rope. And so I'm going to start literally by rubbing this rope all over him, okay? And I'm going to rub it all over his back, and I'm going to rub it all over, especially his hindquarters, and I'm going to rub it on his stomach, and I'm going to rub it down his both legs. One thing that I want to make sure at this point, even over top of his head, is that we work both sides evenly. Historically, humans, for whatever reason, always work more on the left-hand side of a horse than the right-hand side of the horse. And we want to try to get away from that because the horse doesn't really care. I want him to understand that both sides of him, right and left, that I can move this rope all over him and he doesn't care. Stomach, legs, over his back, okay, over his head, and you see that Tigger doesn't care at all. To the point where maybe I can start to throw it over him and he doesn't care. Yeah? I can start to throw that rope all over his neck. I can start to throw that rope all over his back, and he doesn't care at all. Once I have that level of trust, then I can get a lot of things done, and I can start to apply everything that I'm going to do. That becomes a huge deal. Now, looks easy. Tigger's just standing here, doesn't care, can throw the rope on him. He's going to stand there just like anything. That becomes a huge deal for most people. A lot of the times with horses that I get to work all over the country and we start doing this, sometimes that can take a day or two to get him to the point where he's not threatened by me, not threatened by the rope at all. I can throw it like that and he doesn't care, and I can throw it all over him and he's not going to care. This is an extension of me. He's not worried about me at all. That's the start to communication. Are you his friend, right? Are you his friend? Are you going to be his leader? Are you going to be a good part of his life? Next exercise that we're going to practice a lot is that I'm going to start to move his feet. And one of the first ways we do that on the ground here is I'm going to move his back end around his front end. And I'm going to do that at first by just laying my hand on his side and pushing him away, okay? I don't want to try to pull this rope a lot, okay? But if I need to on a young horse, that if I put my hand there, he walks away, I'm going to use the rope to say, no, I want you over here. But we're going to try to push his hind end around his front end. So lay your hand there and push. And as soon as he reacts, I'm going to stop, okay? In this type of situation, because there's a camera there, I'm actually going to go a little farther. But look at this. Put my hand here, just push him, he moves over, I release the pressure. Again, the philosophy of everything we're going to do is going to be along the same lines. Going to do the other side. Take my hand, push him here, he pushes over, I'm going to release the pressure. And I'm going to release the pressure not only by taking my hand away, I'm going to release the pressure by possibly staying still. You have to learn in this release of pressure, your body language becomes so important. How do I use my body? What is the release of pressure? This might be pressure. This might be the release of pressure. And you have to understand the whole time what the horse is thinking. I want consistently for you to look in his eye and try to guess what he's thinking. I think Tigger's thinking sleep right now. But we're going to try to push him over, so maybe now I don't even have to put my hand out there. I can just put a little pressure on him by walking there, little cluck, good. And he walks over there, stop. I want him to stop. I want him to look at me. Start this communication. Then I can put a little more pressure on him and say, wait, maybe I can use this rope, right? And I'll push this rope at him, and you see his footwork get a little quicker, gets a little quicker. As soon as he gets a little quicker, I can release the pressure by stopping, have him turn straight towards me. As soon as he's turned straight towards me, I'm going to give, yeah, stop, give. That's a release of pressure telling me he's a good boy. Remember that the release of pressure is the reward. That is the big deal. The release of pressure is the reward. Next exercise we might do is now try to push his front end around his back end. And so by holding my hand up here, that's a good boy, holding my hand out there, I'm going to try to push his front and put my hand right behind his head at his neck and feel like I can push his front end around his back end. As soon as I do that, stop, turns towards me and looks at me and says what? Do the same thing on this side. Push the front end around the back end. Watch his feet. That's what I want to do. Then I stop and have him turn towards me. As soon as he turns towards me, pat him, tell him he's a good boy. Now, another exercise that we're going to do is that we're going to take that pushing his feet, and now we're going to start to get him onto a circle around me. Now, when I do that, I want to think about that I'm going to lead him in the direction. I'm going to lead his front end where I want him to go, and I'm going to push the back end where I want him to go. So, on this circle, wake up, Tigger. I'm going to lead him there, and I'm going to push him with my rope. If I don't get the answer, I'm going to keep the pressure on. You see how that can get pressure? By moving my rope, I can put pressure on. Watch him speed up here. Put pressure on. That's exactly what I do. As soon as he answers me, I'm going to release the pressure. So we're going to go around here, and I want everybody to introduce an idea here of not keep moving all the time. You see people lunge all the time, and they have a whip, and they are cracking at him all the time. You're teaching your horse how to ignore you because you don't mean it, right? If I move once, I want a reaction. See him speed up? Okay, and if he's at that, I'm going to stand still and I'm going to let him go around until I change. And one way that I'm going to change, okay, is now we're going to start a little bit of having him stop. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my left hand and I'm going to shorten this rope, and I'm going to lean down towards his hind end to push his hind end away from me. Watch this. Shorten, 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 whoa. Okay, and if I had to get the horse to understand, I'm going to shorten that rope. I can shorten that all the way till he's on a little small circle, lean away from him, because the key is I want him to stop facing me. And the reason that I want him to stop and face me is that I want him to ask, what? What are we going to do? And as soon as he does that, I'm going to pat him. I'm going to tell him he's a good boy. Now, when we pat him, literally, I want you to just stroke. Don't pat him on the head. I don't think they really like that. They don't like this. Nobody would like that. Let's just stroke him like there. And then we're going to go the other way. Lead his front end, push his back end. Now, the interesting thing is, if Tigger's been doing this for quite a long time, the harder they work, the more that they'll give themselves to you. Yeah? Tigger's just going to sleep here because he's expecting a lot more. And so how subtle can I get? Can I move there? Just by moving. Now look, right? See, his hind end is straight away from me. He's looking at me, and we'll see where we go. Now we'll do it again. Go both ways. I'm going to stand still because he's doing what I want him to do. And again, I'm not going to go around here 5 times. I'm not trying to wear him out. I'm trying to communicate with him. That's a big difference between lunging and doing what we're doing here, is that I'm not looking to wear him out, okay? I'm looking to communicate. So I'm going to halt him in this other corner, and I'm going to go, whoop, move. That's it. And I want his hind end to go away from me. To me, his hind end's not quite away from me. I'm going to shorten this left rope, push his hind end around, push that rope there, and he steps away. So again, now he has totally committed himself to me. He's not holding him back. You have to notice that difference. Horse can be that far off, and that far off is testing you. The next time he's going to be that far, the next time he's going to be that far, because that is the line of the horse saying, what can I get away with? How much am I going to give myself to you? And I want them to really give themselves to me. Now we start to do some exercises of backing up, and another big thing that we do here, especially at home, is having the horse put their head down. First thing we're going to do is back up. Now, I'm going to go sideways here. Come on, Tig, move over. And you see that every time I do something, right, he answers me, I release the pressure. I'm going to push his shoulder right here, okay? There's kind of a muscle that lays down right down the neck. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to squeeze it a little bit. And what I'm asking for him is to back up. So I'll squeeze this and I'm going to put a little pressure on there, and he backs up, and I'm going to release the pressure, okay? Because that's what I want him to do. Now the next time, hopefully, I'll get to do it a little softer. And I push him there, he backs up, I release the pressure. So that in a situation, it can be quite soft, quite soft, quite soft, and I'm going to get him to back up. Now one of the things about pressure is that you have to mean it. This is the leadership part of riding. If he didn't back up, I'll be a little strong here, stronger than I should be, okay, for his answer, is that I would put a lot of pressure there. I would really dig my finger, that's it, and as soon as he backed up, I would release the pressure. But you have to mean it, right? So if they don't answer you, they have to have more pressure. If they do answer you, you release the pressure. That is the big part about all of this type of communication. If they don't answer you, they have to have more pressure and consistent pressure. Not sharp, we're not being angry, we're not hitting them. We just want to have more pressure until they give you the answer that they want. Maybe I could do the same thing as a game. I could do the same thing with his nose. I'm going to hold him right here. There's a bone that kind of runs right down here on his nose. I'm going to just have my fingers just there, and I'm going to put a little pressure on. And he backs up, and I release the pressure. And we'll do the same thing, so that one way or another, very, very soft, I can start to communicate. All we're doing is communicating with him here. Very, very soft. He answers me, and I release the pressure. That's a very, very important part of anything that we're going to do with horses. I want people to understand about putting pressure on and taking pressure off and making sure that you get the answer that you want to, okay? And you realize what the horse is thinking, and do they want to play with you? Do they want to be with you? Do they want to do what you want to do? So another thing that we do is put our hand here just on the noseband, okay? And ask them to put their head down. And I'm going to put a little pressure on, and this puts pressure right on this part right over the pole or right over the top of his head. And if he at all puts his head down even a quarter of an inch, I'm going to release the pressure. So I put my head down, put the pressure on, he puts his head down, I release the pressure. Now that becomes a big deal, and it's a big submissive deal for horses. And the reason that is that while his head is down here, okay, he's underneath me, I'm above him. And one of the interesting things is he can't see. He doesn't know what I'm going to do with my hand. He doesn't know what I'm going to do with my body. He just is now accepted that I'm not a threat, yeah? That I'm not going to hurt him in a way. And so at that point, we try to build on that trust, yeah? I'm all the time trying to put my horses hanging on their heads a little bit, have them underneath me, and then we're going to play games, play with his ears, so that we're developing this trust, we're developing this communication here. This is a big deal about having them put their head down here, is just put a little pressure here. You know, a lot of times I like to use this kind of Western halter here, and the reason is because it's just a small rope and they don't want to hold themselves onto it a little bit. They want to hold themselves off of it, which means I can be lighter and lighter and lighter in order to get the same thing. So in the end, I can just put my finger just like that, have him put his head down. That is a huge response for what I want, okay? What we're looking for. And we take that application and we say, this is what I want. Now, if I want to jump a fence, we can say, this is what I want. We want to go across the field, this is what I want. And the horses will start to get into the habit of saying, what are we going to do? Let's do this. There we go. So another exercise, what we're going to do is we're going to teach them how to back up. So we've gone sideways, hind end around front end around hind end. Okay, now we take that hind end and we start to push it onto a circle. We start to push him around. We teach him how to whoa, and we taught him how to back up with our hand. Okay, now we're going to start to teach him back up maybe from the rope. And this is an exercise, again, we're going to think about the pressure. We're going to move him off of this way. Okay, now we're going to teach him to back up, and I'm going to do that by shaking the rope at him. So Tigger's pretty good at this. So we're going to shake the rope at him, okay, and he's going to back up. Good boy, all right? And then I'm going to bring him to me. When I bring him to me, basically I like to get a little lower and get kind of enthusiastic. Come here, come here, come here. So we go, come here, get a little lower. Come here, that's it. Little enthusiasm. You see he's going a little sleep here. So if I had him in a normal situation, I'd try to liven him up. Okay, and then maybe do the rope just like that. There. I can be quite subtle about it. Okay, and then come here. Come on, Tig. That's it. We're going to get him to sideways here, so we push him over. Notice that I'm trying to push him over all the time. I'm not trying to pull him over. Now, I'm going to be a little strong here, stronger than I should be for his reaction, but I want you to show about this pressure, that if he didn't answer this, I would get stronger, okay? Until I get the first step. This is how you teach it. I get the first step of backing up, and then I'm going to release the pressure. And when I release the pressure, I'm talking about that I would drop the rope, get real still. Okay, that's what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to get a little strong here. I'm sure Tigger will forgive me. So we start there, and I'm going to come on, and have a little quick, right? He backs up quite strong, quite quick. Okay, as soon as he does that, I'm going to drop the rope. Now, if you watch, see him lick his lips there? Every time, come here, Tig. Every time a horse, and I want him to come to me straight, come here, that's it. Got people over there, got the camera. He's wondering what's going on. Good boy. Okay, look in his eye. You see him question what? Put his head down, accept me. Horses will lick their lips a lot of the times when they're kind of digesting something that they're kind of thinking about. When you make an impression, a horse will kind of look at you, yeah, and they'll lick their lips. I think it's kind of from when they're young horses, remember having a foal kind of will go up to an older horse and kind of turn their head and sideways. That's a little bit of a submissive deal, and that submission is a big part of what we do. So I might get a little strong here again. I'm going to go there, and I get strong. Good boy. That's it. And as soon as he answers me, again, I try to soften. But watch, see, I've gotten strong twice. Yeah? But because I've gotten strong twice, now look how subtle I can be. Yeah? I can almost just raise my finger, just a little tiny bit of rope, and I'll get that same answer. That is subtlety. That's how you be soft. I might mean it by being stronger, yeah, but I'm looking to be soft. I don't want to be strong. I don't want to be that obtrusive all the time. I'm trying to get him to be soft, yeah, I'm trying to be subtle, but I have to mean it. So one more time, maybe I just go like that, and I can get him to back up, and you see him, he's understanding what I'm looking for, okay? That's all I want him to do. I want him to understand what we're doing. Come on, Tig. Good boy. And I want him to come back and forth, and again, look at his eye, right? And you see he's asking what? And he comes here, puts his head down, okay, as an acceptance of me as his leader. Now, this rope is only 12 feet long. The next stage of this is all of these different types of exercises, now on a longer rope. And I'm going to get a longer rope that's 22 feet long, so I can do all of these type of things, but there's more space between me and him, and still see if I can communicate, still see if I can say 22 feet away from me, we can get all these exercises. He's still connected to what I want to do. So here I've got my 22-foot rope, and you can see that it's a lot longer. And I do not suggest when we're first learning all of these exercises, all of the things that we're doing, that you use this. It's too cumbersome, and you have to get used to being able to, without thinking about it, use your rope, shorten it, lengthen it, be able to play around. And it's a lot easier to learn on the 12-foot section. Plus, you're much closer to your horse. So we're going to do all of these type of exercises now with him much farther away from me, and still see if I have control of not only his mind, okay, but also of the space around him. You can see there's a lot of flies. Here we are in the middle of the Virginia summer, and Tigger's having to work a little hard. Kind of hot out here, lots of flies, but he's just going to have to work. That's what we got him for. Okay, so our 22-foot rope, we've got it out here, and we're going to start again with some of these exercises. First thing we're going to do, we're going to start to push him around on a circle. Lead him again with the left hand. As soon as he goes out there, right, drop your hand. Okay, so lead the front, push the back. Okay, and now we're going to have a little canter. So I'll push, again, that's it. That's it. Once he's out there, I'm going to try to stand still. Now we'll work out. You see he's farther away from me. And now we're going to work a little bit on this. Whoa, step towards his hind end, get low, have him turn like that. Exactly. Now, lead. Now, you see that he got confused there for a second, and I didn't move. I still keep this hand out here till he changes, realizes that that's what I want him to do. Now, lead the front end, and now push the back end. And I'll canter. Don't care how he canters, he'll fix that. Good. Once he's there, I'm just going to stand here and let him go around. And maybe only once, that's fine, and maybe a whoop. There we go. Have him stand there. Now lead this end, push the back end. Lead that end, push the back end. Don't mind using a little bit of a cluck. We talk about that when we do horses at Liberty. When we do horses in a round pen, using the cluck, using your body language. And now, I'm going to use my body language for a whoa. Whoop. Have him come there. Again, looking for him to turn towards me. I'm going to put my hand out here and just lean away. Have him come up there. Love that attitude of having them put their head down like that. Okay? Maybe back up. Now we're going to back up all the way at the end of this rope. 20-some odd feet away. Good man. Now can I have an influence his direction? Lead him, push. That's it. Lead him, push. There we go. As soon as he gets the idea of what I want, drop the rope and have him go. And have a little canter. So again, all of the same exercises. Have a little standstill, see if he continues on. I'm not trying to push him all the time. And on that side of the circle, I'm going to whoop, and go like this, and have him stand out there at the end of the rope this time. And have him stand there instead of having him come to me. Now as he's standing there, let's try another little exercise. See how much he's connected onto me. So with a rope on the ground, maybe walk a little circle and have a cluck on him so that he'll turn towards me all the time. And again, I'm not pulling him, right? The rope's laying on the ground. Try it this way. How much is he connected to what I want to do? Play a little game here. Again, try to get his hind end. See if I can get a little bit of action here. That's it. And if he takes his attention away, great. Just cluck at him and get his attention back. These flies are driving him crazy here. Good man. So that's the kind of communication that I want. And now we just start playing some games. So maybe lead him, canter. I wonder if I can get him to go one way, stop, and turn the other way without halting. Whoop, and push. Canter. Maybe try it this way. Whoop. Lead and push him. There he goes. Gets his hind end out of the way and goes that way. And one more. And you just start playing some games here. This is kind of fun. This is where the fun gets. Whoop and push. He's having a lot of fun here. If he cross canters, we just allow him to trot there for a second and canter, get his feet back up underneath him. Ground's a little hard here, and he kind of loses his action. And you see that if I just get a little bit of rope, how much reaction I get. Whoop, if I move, that's it. Good man. So as we start turning our horses around here and start working them, one thing I want you to look at is I want you to look in his eye for a second as he turns towards me. As soon as I move, he turns towards me and asks what? That's the moment. Now I'm going to lead him off in that direction. If he makes a little bit of a wrong move, you see that I didn't move. I'm going to stay in the same place. He is to try to figure out what I want. Whoop. Good man. Left hand, lead him. Good. Once you have that exercise, you see that his circle is getting smaller. This rope is almost dragging on the ground. He's with me without doing anything with the rope. Good. I can whoop, see him question, and I'll lead him, and then off he goes the other way. Once you start to have that communication, again, you see that the circle is in towards me. I'm not holding him on this circle. Change my body. Whoop. Have him whoa. Patience, lead him, and then let's play another game. As we start to play these games, let's see what else we can do. And we start to jump. We're going to work a little bit here on a round pen with a couple of horses that are loose. This is a young horse. He's only 4. Fun enough, his mother won a big 3-day event in Ireland with Karen about 5 or 6 years ago. And his father, his sire, is a good jumping stallion called Cruising in Ireland. And so when we first come in here, I want him to be comfortable and safe. You know, this is not exactly a normal situation. We have a lot of people around here watching, including cameras. And so I want him to come out here and be a little comfortable with it. And I'm going to let him just be comfortable with his space. If he wants to walk over to me, fine. I'll touch him and then let him walk off. The idea of what we want to do for everything in the round pen is, again, establish a communication, establish a way to talk to the horses. One of the things that you have to understand about is pressure. What is pressure? it's different for every horse. The idea about it in a round pen and working like this is the space between me and the wall is your line of pressure. Now, when the horses get quite used to it, just moving that much is going to be enough pressure for the horses to react to. Right now at the beginning, maybe the young horse, I might have to walk all the way over to the wall and block it off in order to have an influence on his space. When we do this type of thing, different people like using different instruments, you know. I like just using a rope. Now the rope, just like the rope that we work with them in hand, this is an extension of me. It's not so much of a use of a penalty, okay, and I don't really want to touch him with it. We're just going to use this as an extension of myself. We call him Tommy. Tommy's a good little boy, okay? The first thing I'm going to do in a round pen, I'm going to pick the direction. I'm going to pick the direction of which way he goes. That's a theme that you're going to hear through all of these series of videos. You're going to hear it on the flat work. You're going to hear it in the jumping. You hear it here when we do the round pen. First priority in riding is direction. So I'm going to pick the direction that we want to go. Same thing on a rope. I'm going to push the front end away, and then that's it. And then push the back end and pick the direction. Right off the bat, I want him to go. I want him to go away from me. As soon as he does, no matter how he does it, come back to the middle and let him stay. If he wants to canter around there, that's fine. And I'm going to let him go around a couple times to be able to, one, kind of get some energy out of him, two, get used to the surroundings. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to turn him. Push him away, push him away. You're not the challenge. I didn't ask for anything. That's it. And again, I picked the direction. Now with the young horse, obviously there's a lot going on here that we're going to go ahead and now start to influence him and change direction. I'm going to close off this gap and have him turn away and send him off in the other direction. That's all I have to do here. This horse has worked with us a little bit, but he's only been loose in the round pen 2 or 3 times. He has worked on a rope a couple times, and he's been backed, and we've started to jump him, but this is only the 2nd or 3rd time that we've gone ahead and worked in a round pen. Again, I'm going to turn him. I'm going to go over here, turn him away, have him come to the inside, and send him. If he wants to have a little expression like that, that's not that big of a deal. All I'm looking to do is to influence his space. I'm looking to influence his space, though I'm very far away from him. I'm going to turn him again. Over here, good boy, and send him. That's how I'm going to start to teach him and to get a communication level. I'm going to try to come into the middle here, stand still, and see if he'll keep going. I'm going to turn him in this corner, so I'm going to back to this corner. There, block off this space. He stops or looks to turn, and then I put pressure on him to make him go away. Again, using the rope as an extension of me. I don't want to touch him. I don't want to use it as a whip. I don't want to use it anything like that. I just want to use it as an extension of me from me to the wall. I'm going to turn him again. I'm going to turn him in that corner. I'm going to back to this corner. Whoop, good, and turn. Push him back to the middle. Then I'm going to see if I can get that again this way. In that turn, I'm going to come here, away from him, turn, and turn, because I don't want him to stop. Go on. If he turns away from me, that's not a big deal. Actually, that's part of what I want to show. Is now we talk about trying to start to release the pressure. I'm going to turn him again in that far corner, which means I go to the opposite side of the round pen, and I'm going to move over here, but then I'm going to back up and release the pressure and see if I can. Just wait here a second. You see him put his head down? Now he's starting to question a little bit what I want him to do. That's it. And if he looks there, that's the best thing that I want him to go to, is to look at me. Put some attention on me and ask him what. If he comes to me, great. I can put my hand up. See if he'll come that way. And I want him to come to me. I'm not going to move to him. And then in a lot of this type of situation, I walk away. Again, a release of pressure. To see if he follows me, that's a bonus. That's great. And I'm just going to walk away and ignore him and see if he follows me. If he doesn't, that's fine too, but I would like to start to teach him how to stand there. Remember when we worked on the rope earlier? We had Tigger standing there by himself? This is how we do it. We teach him to back up on the rope, yeah, but on the round pen, we come up here, touch him, get his attention, and just walk away from him. And if he follows me, that's great. Now I'm going to play a little bit of a game. wonder how small of a turn I can go and have him stay on attention. And if he breaks and goes away, he's got to work. Pick the direction. There we go. So anytime he breaks his communication with me, he's going to work. That's a big part of communication with horses. I'm going to stop him here, whoop, and release the pressure. Because he didn't really turn inside. Good man. And if he turns inside, I'm just going to wait and see if he comes all the way over to me. I like to put my hand out. I like to give him a focal point. That's it. See him lick his lips a little bit, even put his head down a little bit. Even if it's only a 1/4 inch, I'm really happy with that. And I'm going to stroke him. Now we use this this rope here. Use this rope, slide over it again so he doesn't care about it. He's very, very comfortable with me. He's very comfortable with the rope. He's not threatened by either one. And again, seems to be comfortable with that. To his back, his stomach, back of his legs. Good man. I got to walk away and see what happens. Now, if he follows me, and I have an idea that he's following me behind, kind of through my peripheral vision. If he follows me, I'm really happy about that. Might do a small turn. Good man. And you see that all the communication, he's asking me, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Yeah? And that's the kind of fun. Now, if I turn over here, and now I'm going to try to cluck at him. Good man. That's all I would expect for a young horse, yeah? Is for him to want to be a part of my life. And if I get him to be a part of my life, then all we do is just apply different games and see what we can do. Now we're going to work him a little bit more one time. Good man. This is just great to have this type of communication. Now again, for him, we've worked him a little bit. We've been around. He's been a little bit in our system. So he wants to play with us. So I'm going to send him off in a direction, push the front end away, and move the back end. That's it. And send him away. Go on. If he questions, again, throw that rope, put pressure behind him there in order to make him go forward. That's what I like about a rope, using a lariat instead of using a lunge whip or something like that. This has a great extension all the way that I feel like I can reach out and almost touch him, but I'm not actually going to touch him. I'm going to put pressure behind him and have him go forward. And as soon as he goes forward like that, I'm going to try to be quiet. I'm going to turn him up at that end again. So I'm going to move to the opposite side of the round pen, which is here. Release the pressure, see if I can get him to turn away. Bingo. And you see that that time he just stopped and came directly over. All eyes, all eyes. Good man. And put his head down a little bit. That's even better. So in that type of situation, you'll find out when you do a round pen, sometimes horses will turn one way better than they'll turn the other. So he is very, very good coming from the left, turns directly to me. Now let's see what happens on the right, see if it's just as easy. Push the front end away and move the back end. Good. Good communication. We'll have a little canter. You see how subtle he's getting. Good man. And I'm going to stop and turn him again this way. I'm going to back up over to the wall. There. And you see how he doesn't turn that way? Doesn't turn towards me. As soon as he doesn't turn towards me, I'm going to release the pressure. I'm going to feel like I back up and I draw him to me. And if I keep backing up, look at his eyes. Look at the eyes. Look at the ears. Look at the eyes. Good man. He wants to be part of your life. He looks like that. If he looks towards you, then the horse is just asking, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And then you just apply it to any game you ever want to. Now we're going to kind of employ Rattle and Hum's expertise here. This is a horse that we've had since a 3-year-old. He's 10 now. He's been all around the world. Been quite a successful international horse. Was Horse of the Year here a couple years ago. Interesting thing is he was actually bought as an auction and would have gone off maybe for meat if he hadn't come into our lives. So he's quite successful in what he does. We have a lot of fun with him. He bounces a lot, which is kind of fun. He has got a great attitude and a really kind of a attitude like a little kid. So we're going to show some of the games that we can play and jump here in the round pen and see if we can use him for that. You ready, Rap? Okay, go on. Hopefully that with an older horse that you see here is that watch that I can be a lot more subtle with him than I was trying to be quite obvious with the younger horse. So we'll ask him to canter. Canter. Good. And again, when he canters there, I'm going to try to stay still, okay, and see if he'll come down there. So like on the rope, let's see if I can lower myself, whoop, and ask him to turn. Good boy. I always want him to turn and face me. And again, look at his eyes, look at his ears, ask what. Now go the other way. See that I can push him, push his hind end away, and I'll canter. Now I'm just trying to establish a little bit of communication before we jump. We'll go again. I'll ask him maybe to whoa here in the corner, lower myself, draw him toward me. Good man. So again, now he's totally listening to my body language. I'm not having to use a lot of my voice, especially when you're doing a video series, because I'm talking to you all the time. So here we go, and we're going to start to jump now. Let me set up this little fence. You see that with him, unlike the young horse, every time I walked away, see that the young horse followed me. That's a bonus. It's a great thing for you to happen because the horse wants to be a part of you. But this horse will go to both. He's totally confident standing there on his own. And again, even from the backside, you look at his ears, you look at his eyes, he's always kind of interested and wondering what we're going to do here and wants to be part of the game. As I set up just a little fence here for him, we teach a lot of horses to jump in here. So by the time that we ever hop on them, by the time we have jumped our first fence, they already know how to jump. So make a nice kind of round parallel. Put round lines on both sides so we can jump it on both ways. And this is a great way to exercise them. Good man. And you begin to see that he wants to be kind of part of my life, wandering around wherever I go. I want him to kind of question, even if I give him a little bit of his own time. Okay, so we're going to go off to the left first, pick the direction, push him away, and see what we come up with. This will be the first jump that he's jumped in here, quite a long time, and see if, good man. And again, I don't want to try to put a lot of pressure on it. I think of jumps, good man. Whoop. See the tremendous effort that he puts in there. Lick his lips, put his head down a little bit, happy as can be. I think of jumps, unlike a lot of different situations, I think of that as a puzzle for them to solve. That's what I want them to do. Go over there and solve the puzzle. So I'm going to give him a little room here, see if we can walk him on. Take him to the other side of the round pen, and we'll see if we can jump both ways. Both ways. Good boy. I'm going to teach him how to jump both ways. Make this a game. And I'm going to teach him how to jump before we ever hop on him. So you see how far away I am. And whoop. And again, have that type of look. So I'm going to teach him how to jump here before I ever get on him. In that type of situation, the horses are so comfortable with playing these little puzzle games. Go solve the puzzle, come back. We're going to have a little bit of fun here, and it's a wonderful way. If you look at his eyes, that's the big deal. I always think about when we talk about jumping, ears and eyes. If I want the horse to pick up that fence 3 or 4 strides away, look at that. If his brain is totally attached on solving the puzzle, I get to sit on him and enjoy the ride. With that look, you can do anything with horses.
Well, I just find all the work in the round pen so interesting to watch. I keep learning every time I watch David work with a horse in the round pen. 2 horses that he was working with were so different in their levels of experience, and the contrast in what they were able to show was just quite dramatic. Do you ever find, David, that some of these horses don't respond to the pressure on, pressure off that you're talking about?
Well, every horse is going to find some way, but this is where your leadership comes in. You really do have to be a leader between you and your horse. If you're not going to be the leader, they are. And you have to find that language that you are going to be, you are going to not dominate the situation, but that you are in charge of the situation. There are really 2 types of pressure that you have. You have rhythmical pressure and steady pressure. And if a horse doesn't listen to a light pressure, you have to go stronger, and you have to go stronger right away. So levels are, touching the skin and then pushing harder and then pushing harder and then really pushing harder for a steady pressure. And rhythmical pressure, like we use for that rope, remember with the rope thing,
Sure.
you can just move it a little bit, and then if he doesn't, you can really start to move it, and that would be rhythmical pressure. The key to it is, again, as soon as they move, even a half an inch, right, back the pressure off.
So every aid has its own volume, so to speak.
There is no question that the ratio of your aid, the ratio of your strength is very, very important. And that's the feel part of working with any horse.
Right. Now let me take you back to the young horse that you worked with. He seemed very responsive, but when you cantered him around in the round pen, very often he was disunited, or as we can say, cross-cantering. What do you do with that?
Well, we have a lot of horses that do that, especially when they're younger horses. If they're not very coordinated behind as they're coming onto a smaller circle, because that circle in a round pen is not that big. It's only 20 meters wide. That round pen, and the one we use, is 20 by 25, so it has a little bit of a flat side for a jump. So it's quite a small turn for a lot of horses, and he is unable at that point to be able to deal with the pressure of having his feet that far underneath him. So again, he releases the pressure by disunited. He just releases his hind end to the outside. We see that a lot. There's really two things to do. I kind of ignore it for a while they're young, while I'm working on other things, because you really have to have your priorities of and I'm worried about his mind at that point. I'm really not talking about working on his body. I'm just trying to get a communication. So I leave it. There is a way that sometime as you go on is just allow them to trot, pick back the canter, and they'll get a true canter again.
Right. It was so interesting also watching the young horse start to turn and follow you around almost like a dog. Do the horses ever get rude about that? I mean, do you ever have to get them back away from you?
Well, certainly there are horses that what I would call invade your space, that they don't have respect for you and the space around you. And teaching them to back up or being a little aggressive by pushing or walking towards them suddenly might ask them, what's going on now? And that will give the respect. As soon as I got that answer, I'd probably walk away again.
Right. Now on the older horse, we saw him jumping pretty impressive fence right from the beginning. Surely, with the work that we've done with horses, we've started the young horses over much smaller jumps and even pulls on the ground. Did you want to go into that a little bit?
Well, both horses, both the horses that we jump, Tigger and Rattle and Hum, are quite experienced. They've been around me for a long time, and so we've had a great time. So they're able to have the confidence just to go to a bigger fence right away. But we wouldn't do that. First, you started off of doing a circle on a rope between you and a fence. Will they go through that gap? And then you just lay a pole on that gap, and they start to go over it. And once they understand that, then you can start to build fences. But the older horses can go to something. But as with any young child, any young person, any young horse, you have to kind of start all the way from the bottom, which would be a rail on the ground, to build up totally to what their confidence is.
Right. Now let's talk a little bit about situations that you don't expect, like say the horse demolishes the jump, he knocks it all down, or he stops or he runs out. What do you do? Do you stop the horse? Do you keep going?
Well, again, it's a step-by-step process, but if a horse does stop, what I tend to do is back up and allow him to have a space between the fence and you, so that he has a clear way if I don't think that the horse is going to jump it from the halt, if I don't want him to, if it's a dangerous situation. And so I'll back up and push him through that. And at the same time, I would shake the rope, I would growl, I would put a little pressure on him so he understands that that's not what I wanted. The important part that after a stop, even if I have to lower the fence and get him to go through that area, right? The fence is the puzzle. He's to go through that area and solve the puzzle in that area. If I have to lower the fence in order to go through that area, that's fine. Don't get an ego about it, right?
Sure.
Your job is to get him to understand what you want him to do. And so you can put a little bit of a pressure on him, but the thing about it is that when he does answer that pressure, you got to immediately say, good boy. Yeah, so when they do that, it usually stop and immediately big reward. So he realizes is that you make what we want to do, we make very easy.
So it's rewarding and peaceful for the horse to find.
That's right. And
answer.
He finds it hard actually not to answer that question by growling, by being a little aggressive, by doing things like that.
Right.
So in the next program, we're going to be riding horses. That's all about motion. So the first thing that we're going to do is study the movement on a horse's back while he's free.